Hello and welcome to another Sky Fantasy Football video. Obviously the overhaul is going on right now and I thought I'd come on and show you my first draft that I've put together basically for the overhaul. Obviously this isn't going to be the final draft, or at least it's highly likely that it won't be my final draft, but I thought I'd at least be transparent with everything and do like 2 or 3 videos over the course of the overhaul, just kind of showing where I'm at with my team. So I do have a first team made up and I've got a second team made up as well, so I don't think it's going to be too much of a longer video, but yeah, I thought I'd just go through the team right now. So let's jump straight into things. In goals, I've decided to go with Trafford. Now, if you've watched the overhaul guide video, that will be linked at the end of the video. If you haven't seen that yet, I would recommend you go and watch it. You'll know why Trafford is in this team. Obviously, we do have the Burnley and Luton game quite early on in the when we come back from the January break, and I'm really just looking to cover that captaincy there. And for me, I think with Trafford, you've got a couple of routes to points with him in terms of saves and also clean sheets. And obviously it's only one transfer that's needed to cover that captaincy once Trafford needs to come out. So we're really looking for about 10 points from him. And I think in terms of like if he's going to pick up saves, you're talking 5 points, 10 with a captaincy, which is where it's worth it. And then obviously I think there's still a decent chance of a clean sheet there. I think Burnley have been decent defensively. If I take a look at them right now, you can see obviously conceded 3 goals away to Villa, 2 to Liverpool. I mean, nothing really to be said there. It's tough games there, but they did keep a clean sheet away to Fulham. They were very close. I think these were 2 very late goals against Everton, only 1 to Brighton, only 1 to Wolves, a clean sheet against Sheffield, and then I think this one was very, very late goals as well for the West Ham game. So they have looked like in an alternate universe there's a couple of clean sheets in there, and I think for Burnley's standards it's not too bad. So I'm hoping for a clean sheet, I'm hoping for saves in that way. I think that could be worth it. In defence, which is where we've kind of went more template. I've got Trent Alexander-Arnold, I have Saliba, and I've went for Pedro Porro as well. I think for me, I do prefer Pedro Porro going forward than Romero. Obviously, if we're looking at the points scored, Romero is going to be higher. Despite playing less games, 97 points compared to Porro's 89. But I think with Romero, he's just getting suspended too much, he's getting injured. I don't really want to be, I feel like I can hold Porro a lot longer term. Obviously Romero in the short term is going to be picking up points, but he's obviously going to be missing the odd game due to yellow cards, due to suspensions. Not really going to mention injuries because obviously Porro can get injured as well, but I think with Porro, he does pick up tackle tiers every now and then, he picks up passing tiers every now and then, and of course he is a lot more attacking than most fullbacks, so I think he can pick up goals and assists on the odd occasion. So I think for me, if I was to pick between Porro and Romero, I would be tempted to go for Porro, again just because I think I'd be using way too many transfers, trying to keep Romero in and out the team. In terms of midfield, we have got 5 midfielders in here. I've got Bowen, I've got Saka, I've got Rodri, I've got Gross, and then I also have Cole Palmer. Again, I think this is a very template midfield. I don't think there's going to be too much differentiating from this, from the majority of the game and then from my final team after the overhaul. Bowen is a great captain, again someone I've not owned at all this season. Has really been picking up fantastic points, stable points, for the last good few weeks. Saka I've got as a captaincy for the first 2 games. Again, if you watched the overhaul guide video, you'll see that I've got him as the best captain for this game against Palace and then this game against Forest, and then I'd be looking to transfer him out. I'm looking to go to someone like Maddison. I think if he's back, could maybe go to like De Bruyne depending on how well he's playing, maybe Salah or Son depending if they get eliminated early from the international tournaments. But Saka's not really a long-term hold. I'm going to have him. I think for 10.4 million, the points he's been getting isn't really worth it. Obviously back here he was getting a good amount of points, but recently he's only got one double digit score since the start of October. So I don't really think he's worth the money, but I think in terms of getting a captaincy in, I'd have him in there. And then the strikers, again, we're going template. We've got Haaland and Watkins. I think, again, we do have a very, very template team here. I think the only differences you're going to be looking at is a different captain for Burnley and Luton, maybe a different Brighton player. Some people will be going with Dunk, some people João Pedro. Other than that, I think Porro's maybe a bit of a differential. I don't really know how many people are going to go for him, but I really think about 7 or 8 of these players are going to be very template players. And again, in terms of captaincies, this you'll see just below me is the captaincies that I've covered over the next 6 game weeks. The only 2 that aren't covered is the Trippier and Solanke one, because I don't really think I need Trippier, and again I've got cover elsewhere. I can show the games here. So obviously we've got this game here, which is where I would be captaining Trippier against Luton. I'm going to have cover here. I've got Watkins against Sheffield if I wanted. I've got Gross against Palace if I wanted. There is, and obviously Spurs as well. I do think there is a decent amount of cover there, so there's no real need for Trippier. And then this day here on the Sunday, which is where I've got Solanke as the best captain against Forest. I've got Cole Palmer, who can be a captaincy there, and maybe Bowen against Man United, but again it's probably going to end up being Cole Palmer. So I don't think I really need to make the Solanke transfer. In terms of any other transfers, again, Saka coming out, Trafford's probably going to come out, and I'm looking to go to Pickford quite early on. Again, if we look at the goalkeeper points, Pickford is literally sitting at number 4 now, very close to Alisson, only 9 points behind him, and he has been picking up some decent points. So if I'm going to be bringing him in for the Fulham game, there's a possible clean sheet there. Spurs and City, I'd be hoping for saves, and then he's got a decent run in here with Brighton, West Ham and Palace. Obviously this Palace game is the single where I'd be captaining him. So I think the team's set up decently. Again, it is only the first draft, so I haven't looked into it too much. This is just from like an hour or two of looking into it. In terms of the second team, this is what I've went for here. It's a little bit more differential, kind of going for like the 50-50s. Obviously you'll see Lyle Foster in this team. Again, he probably has a much higher ceiling than Trafford does. Again, it's just really covering the captaincy. He would be coming out quite early after that day. I've got João Pedro in there instead of Gross. Again, if you watched the Overhaul guide video, I do really like João Pedro as a differential, as he's on the penalties, and he's pretty much nailed at the Brighton team at the moment. So he's in there instead of Gross. Again, basically the same midfield, except for Gross not being there. Then I went for Trent and Van Dijk. I was really wanting to go for a block defence in this team, but realistically, looking at the fixtures, I don't really think there's too many opportunities to go for a block defence. I think Newcastle looks decent, but they've been very poor recently. Arsenal look okay, but they've got a couple of dodgy games in there. Liverpool look good, but you'd have to wait like 2 or 3 weeks for the bad fixtures to go by to try to kind of go for a block defence there. So I don't think there's too many opportunities to go for a block defence, but this is where it's at right now. It's still pretty similar. I've started off with Pickford in this team just to have him throughout, but there's really only Foster, Pedro, Van Dijk and Pickford, so there's 4 differences in this team. Again, I might go a bit more different and try switch it up, maybe go for Odegaard instead of Saka. Probably not, but it is always an option, because this team is a lot lower in the ranks. I'm sitting nearly 11k in this team. So we're looking to really use some differentials and try and kind of boost that rank up quite early on. But that is going to end off this video. If you enjoyed, make sure to leave a like. Obviously this is just the first draft. There will be plenty of more going over the next couple weeks. So I will have a final overhaul draft out next week towards the deadline at some point as well. So make sure you stay tuned for that. And of course we are going to have so much more overhaul stuff coming over the next couple of days. So make sure you are subscribed with notifications on so you know when those videos come out. Again, thank you all for watching, and I will see you all in the next video.